Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Miss Pick Clothing, and in today's tutorial we are going to be making this princess that bustier. This is very easy to make and I show a detailed way you can make it, even how to prevent your zip from having a bulge at the back. I also show that in this video. So if this is something you are interested in, don't be in a hurry, stay right back in the video because I'm going to be showing you how to cut it from scratch up until the finished part of it. And there are some little hacks that are going to be very beneficial to you. So if you're ready like I am, let me show you how to do it. So guys, I'm going to be cutting this on a pattern paper before transferring it to my fabric. So like we know, I'm going to be beginning with the length, and the length here is 24.5 inches. So I'll begin by cutting the chest line, the bust point, on the bust length, and my half length or my waistline. So this is the chest line, there's a bust point on the bust, and then the half cut. Next, I'll be taking my shoulder width that I'm using 8. Then from that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. Then I'm just going to roll it into the neckline. So I'm going to be taking my shoulder depth from this slant, and then it's going to be ending on the chest line. So the same 8 inches that I measured on the shoulder line, I'm going to measure same on the chest line, and then I'll connect it to the shoulder line. So next, on the bust point, I'm going to be taking my nipple to nipple measurement, and I'm using 4. 4 is my nipple to nipple measurement. I'll come to the half cut as well. I'll take the nipple to nipple measurement, and on the overall length of our fabric or the pattern paper, I'm going to be marking the same thing. I'm going to be joining them together, connecting the points together, a straight line for a start. So after that, I'll just go ahead and just mark my neck. The neck depth I'm using for this top is 6 inches, 6.5 inches rather. Then the neck width is 4 inches. So I'll just connect it together to just form a neck. So whatever kind of neck you want to use at this point, this is the point for you to just draft it out and cut it on the pattern paper. So after that, on the armhole line, I'm going to be taking the midpoint from that slant that we made on the shoulder to the chest line. Then the midpoint is 3.5 inches. And then I'm going to take half of an inch inwards. And then I'll make the armhole curve. So next, remember this point on the armhole line, this point, I'm going to be connecting it to the nipple to nipple measurement. So after this, what I'm going to do next is on the bust line, the UB, this on the bust line, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches on that line. This 1.5 inches is for my bust point. So if your bust size is in the range of 40, 42, 44, make sure to use 2.5, 3 inches for your on the bust measurements. And then at this point, I'm going to be dragging the line to go meet this half line that we drew, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. I'm going to be extending it this way diagonally. So with the way I am extending, or I am positioning this ruler to take these diagonal lines, you can make yours straight downward instead of positioning your ruler differently. After that, you can see that on this on the bust, we went out by 1.5. So I'm going to be linking that 1.5 to the bust points like this. So on the shoulder line, I'm also going to take the same 1.5 on the shoulder line. And then I'll also blend it into the cup that we are trying to form. So you know this thing with princess darts or princess dart bustier, that after cutting the sides and then you're trying to join it at the end of the day, the side of it is shorter than the middle part. So avoid that stress, we're going to be adding extra 1 inch to the armhole line, and then we're just going to blend it into the side of this princess dart this way. Just look at what I'm doing, and then blend it into the armhole this way again. So this is just a provision for when you are joining it, instead of the side of this princess dart to be shorter than the middle part of it, it becomes equal and even a little bit above it so that you can trim it away. And after that, on the middle part of it, I'm going to take 1/2 inch on the bust and then on the half cut. Going further, I'm going to be taking my bust measurements. My bust measurement is 9.5, so I'm going to mark the 9.5. Then I marked out 1.5 on the armhole line. I'm going to be adding that 1.5 because I'll be cutting that 1.5 away. So we'll make provisions by adding it into our style. And also this part 2.5, I'm going to be cutting it away, so I'll make provisions for it. My on the bust is 8 inches. I'm going to be adding that 2.5 that we are going to be cutting away. Also on my waistline, I'll mark my waist 7 inches. Then this is 2.5. I'm going to add the same 2.5 to my measurements. And then the overall length, I'm going to be measuring my hip measurement at this point, 10 inches. And then I'm just going to connect the points together. Mind you that this box here, I am going to be cutting it away, and since I'm going to be cutting it away, it's going to reduce the size of our top. So one way of controlling that is to add the same thing that you're cutting away, to add it to your measurement, so that there is allowance and there is space for you at the end of what you're making. So I'm going to be adding 1 inch allowance to all the sides. So I'm just going to be making the neck a little visible. So I'm going to be setting this front piece aside and just cut out our back pattern. So you can see that I have my chest line, my half cut or my waistline, and my shoulder slant already done. And then on the armhole line, I took out the half of the armhole line. Then I went further to take my nipple to nipple measurement. You can also see that I have my zip allowance already. And then on the waistline, I'm also taking the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'll do the same thing downward. And so I'll go up by 5 inches from the waistline. So measuring it from the top side means adding extra 1 to your bust point. So for instance, my bust point is 10.5. So 10.5 plus 1 inch, that is 11.5. So the princess dart curve is going to be ending on the 11.5 there. So I'm just going to be illustrating it in a moment. So on that 11.5 point, I'm also going to mark the 4 inches, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. So the line is going to be running from that 11.5 inches downwards. Just look at what I'm doing if you're confused. So I'm going to be connecting it to the line on the armhole this way. So the first time I used something to enhance what I was doing. So this time I'm going to be using my free hand to make it. So this is what it is after making the curve. So next, I'm just going to make the curve on the armhole. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to take the other measurements like my bust measurement. My bust measurement is ending on the zipper allowance. I'm not extending it beyond the zipper allowance line. And then my half cut on my waistline, I'll take my measurement there, my waist measurement. Then I'm going to be taking my hip measurement at this point. So I'll link the points together. So you can see that the back pattern already has this deep curve at the waistline already, and it looks like the front part doesn't have that. It's because of what we are cutting off from the front part, so it makes it look like the front part is straight while the back has some very deep curve, but it is the same. And then I'm going to be adding 1 inch allowance all through. Then I'll connect the points together. So I'll be using the same neckline, the same depth, the same width that I use for the front. I'll be using it for the back as well. So same 6 inches I'm going to be using for the neck depth, and same 4 inches like what I use for the front. So I want us to notice that whenever you are taking your waist measurement from the shoulders, the front is usually longer. Some people by 1.5, others by 2.5, and some other persons by 2. For me, it is by 2 inches. So my waistline is 17 inches. That is the line there. That's the 17 inches there. But my back waistline is 15 inches. So I'm going to be making a mark. I'm going to be marking that 15 inches across the lines for the back. This way. The reason we are doing this is so that our zip will not have a bulge when you wear it. It will not be protruded forward. And so we're trying to fix all of that in our pattern cutting, in our pattern drafting, so that once you wear the cloth, it is straight and perfect on your body, sits well, elapses well on your body. So I marked the 17 inches and then I marked the 15 inches. So I'm going to be illustrating towards how to go about that. So on the 17-inch mark, I am going to be making a dotted line from the 15-inch mark to the 17-inch mark, cutting into the zipper allowance. So what this is going to do is going to be lapping on one of the lines this way to give us some kind of diverted shape at the zipper allowance this way. So I'm going to be slashing on one. So I'm going to be laying it on the other like this. Then I'm just going to hold them down with a tape. So you can see that our princess dart at the back is already distorted, and then we need to just fix it. Also at the zipper allowance, you can see that the shape is no longer straight like it has been. So we're not going to be cutting the princess dart for the back. We're not going to be cutting it this way. So we're going to be making a different line to straighten it up again, to go back to how it was before we made this slash. So I'm just going to set it aside and cut out the front. Okay, can you see this point? This is the point where I made an extra 1 inch allowance to enable you a complete armhole after joining. So I'm going to be cutting this part out, and this is going to replace there. So I'm going to go up by between 5 and 6 inches. I went up by 6 inches and then I'm making a mark. So I'm just going to be using my hands to make a curve downwards. So at this point, feel free to make whatever kind of curve you want to make. And I'm going to be replicating the same curve on this back side. I'm going to be marking the same line there so that one part is no longer than the other. But for the back, I am going to be shortening the length by 2 inches. I don't want it to be same length with what I have in the front, so I'm going to be going up by 2 inch from the zipper side of this back pattern. Then I'm going to connect it to the side like this, making the back pattern shorter by 2 inches. So this is for the back. This is for the front. So this little piece in the middle that we are cutting away, by cutting that away, it has made the side of this front part to be a little shorter. So we are going to be making provisions to replace what we cut out of it so that one is not shorter than the other. So I'm going to be adding an extension. I'm going to be extending it below and then trying to cut out what we need to make it equal with the middle part of it. So I'm adding extra 1/2 inch. So this is what we have for the front part of our style. So we're going to be cutting this on our fabric, and this is the back side of it as well. So I went ahead and I cut them on a fabric. I added an estee to the fabric. I also cut same piece of lining like the fabric that I already cut out. So I also attached a wadding to my fabric. This is just a little thicker than the estee that I used. So at this point, you can decide to use your breast pad, the thicker type. You can decide to use any kind of pad that you want to use for the bust area at this point. But for me, I just decided to use a little thickener, just a little bit thicker than the estee that I used, just to give the bust area firmness. So use whatever hardener you want, the thicker breast pad, corset, corpse or bra corpse, just whatever is convenient for you at this point is what you should use at this point. I'm going to do the same for the lining as well. Join the two pieces together, stitch on them like I am doing for the main fabric. So for the back side of it as well, I'm going to be laying it piece by piece. And then also I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and then I'm going to close this part up as well. This is the first layer. I'm going to do the same for the second layer and do the same for the lining piece as well. Once that is done, this is what we've been able to come up with. This is the bust part. You can see that is weak because it's a thickness, just the wording that I used. If you don't have the thicker breast pad, you can double this as much as you want until you get the firmness that you desire. So if you're wondering what this black patch is doing on this white wording, it's actually an estee. So just try adding it to your breast pad after making your breast pad and see the magic that it creates. So this is what we've been able to do with the back as well. So I'm just going to head over to attaching linings. So after attaching the linings and ironing them, this is what the front part looks like and this is the back part. So going over to attaching a zipper to your dress, I'm going to be marking 1 inch on from the top side of it to the end of it. So I'm left with 1 inch. So I'm going to be attaching the zip on the 1 inch allowance that I'm leaving right now. Then I'll pin it all the way before heading to the sewing machine to stitch it down. So this is the first side of it. I'm going to stitch all the way this way, and then once I open this, how it's going to look like. So after that, I'm going to be attaching the front part of it, and then I'm going to be closing the shoulders together, the both shoulders. Then this is what the zip looks like after attaching it from the sewing machine. So this excess underneath, I'm just going to fold it inwards and I'm going to be notching it on the sewing machine. So once I'm done sewing, I'm going to be cutting out the excess zip that we have. We won't be needing a lot of it. So let me know in the comments below if there's a style you would want me to make a tutorial on, if there's a style you want me to explain, or if there's a part of this video you don't understand and you would like to ask questions. I'll be in the comment section and I'll be expecting your questions, expecting your concerns, expecting your suggestions on the next video or the next tutorial to make. So if you are yet to subscribe to my channel or you are coming across my channel for the very first time, I would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to turn the bell icon so you are notified every time I upload a new video. Then showing at the top right side of your screen is a tutorial I made on how you can make a play suit from start to finish. Again, don't forget to leave me your thoughts, your concerns, your questions. So guys, this is the end result of what we've been explaining all along in this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for always coming back to this channel. I love you guys and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Thank you and bye.